Hey, I hope you all enjoyed the last couple days. We had some really interesting and wonderful comments. And I believe maybe Friday or Saturday I'll be doing a comments video of reading a lot of your comments over this time that we've been exploring the 60s. And I do have a little bit of footage that I want to show you before we end, and I'll be back with some other comments, but there was just a little bit of footage left that I think you'll like. So I'll be back in a minute and you'll get to see the end of the black sweater chat.
Started coming out in Godzilla.
Oh yeah, Godzilla. A lot of the Japanese Godzilla and Mothra.
Yeah.
Island of Dr. Moreau with Burt Lancaster.
King Kong.
King Kong. And
The very first one, not the remakes.
yeah, the very first one. And your nephew Derek is King Kong. He was like 3 at the time. King Kong, I want to King Kong. So, I hope that we will have more black sweater talks in the future. Everybody just enjoys Joe so much. The only thing is, I hope I'm not too loud, because Joe has a very soft voice. So in order for you to really hear him well, I had to really increase the volume. And I have a voice that is kind of loud and does carry. I try to regulate it some, but I think out on the porch and with, all that open area, it does disperse more. But I want to just clarify some things about the 60s. It wasn't all good. And I think it's important to know and be reminded of that, because we are making some of the same mistakes today. There were so many cults in the 60s. There were some of them developed into communes. There was the Jim Jones cult over in Africa. He left America with his followers. The thing of it with a cult, the way it's defined here by our government, is they generally center around one leader whose word is law to everybody. They'll call themselves a prophet, or sometimes they'll even call themselves the Messiah themselves. And it really caused a lot of damage. Some of them were actually covers for Eastern businesses. That I found out through a friend of mine in Canada who actually researched one and wrote about it in his book, Waking Up Gilligan, I think is the title of it, by J.R. McLean. You can find it on Amazon, I believe. But there were some that were just, they would bring in their free love ideas and their yogi thing or whatever, and it would end up taking a lot of money from people and end up being a profit for them. But there were some pedophiles in some of the cults. They just, and there were some were just, you're laid back, farm, free love, not really dangerous to anybody outside their cult, and even inside their cult, there were things that were not really good, but they didn't really damage society as a whole, and people could leave I don't know if you'd call them cults, though. Some of them, yeah, they were more commune than anything. But we've had cults since in this country. We still do today. There was just an overload then. And into the 70s as well. The economy towards the end of the 60s really started to tank. The Vietnam War had taken a lot more expenses than people ever imagined it would. And it became apparent that we would not win it, not with the restrictions and stuff that we had. So it was it's a rainforest, and the vegetation is so thick over there that our troops had no idea how to fight in it. And I think was one of the problems. I'm not an expert, but I do know this. A lot of our ideology about the world and about our own country changed through the early 60s on because we were not only hearing it on the radio, now we were seeing more and more on television, on news on television, and shows that would come out with commentary. That was before the news magazine shows that they have that they call news today. I might get in trouble for that one. I don't think I will. But it was a whole new awakening. But there were a lot of good things too. Among all the riots and the protests, there were a lot of good family things going on too. And the words peace and love became very big words at that time. Unfortunately, some not so good words became big in that time too. And that was some calling the police Gestapo and pigs. And they were trying to do their job, but there were some things they'd never handled in that, at that level of violence before. And it wasn't really handled well, like Kent State. So you can look that stuff up, but it'd be nice if we could start learning from our past mistakes. I think a lot have, but there are quite a few who have not. So I'm just going to let you go on a very good note, and that is there was a lot of fun in the 60s too. And where I grew up, it was just, we didn't come into the 60s the way the nation did until probably the end of the 70s. We were always way behind on styles and stuff. But, of course, television did help us catch up. So, in the spirit of the Andy Griffith Show and his laid-back, relaxed way of being Sheriff of Mayberry, I'd like to end this on the same note. Let's be reasonable and just and kind and wave, smile and wave, but back to saying goodbye. Peace and love. And subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Click that notification bell. I love you all. Please give peace a chance. And I'll see you next time. Right on.